வணக்கம் Behindwoods viewers. இந்த வருஷம் தமிழ் சினிமா ரசிகர்கள் உலகத்தில் இருக்க எல்லா தமிழ் சினிமா ரசிகர்களாலையும் ரொம்ப ஆவலாக எதிர்பார்க்கப்பட்ட படம் தான் கோச்சடையான். அண்ட் ஃபைனலாக இந்த படம் மே 23 ரிலீஸ் ஆக போகுது. அண்ட் இந்த படத்தில் எத்தனையோ ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டி இருக்குது. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கண்டிப்பாக நம்ம ரஜினி தலைவர் தான் சொல்லணும். அண்ட் அதுக்கப்புறம் இந்திய சினிமாலேயே முதல் முறையாக ஃபுல் மோஷன் கேப்சர் டெக்னாலஜி யூஸ் பண்ணி உருவாக்கப்பட்ட படம் இதுதான். அண்ட் இந்த மோஷன் கேப்சர் டெக்னாலஜி என்ன அப்படின்றது வந்து நம்ம சும்மா கேட்டிருப்போம், ஆனால் நிஜமாவே அதுக்குள்ளே என்ன கண்டென்ட் இருக்குன்றது நமக்கு நிறைய பேருக்கு தெரியாது. அண்ட் இதை பற்றியும் கோச்சடையான் பற்றியும் நிறைய விஷயங்கள் பேசுறதுக்காக பிக்சல் கிராஃப்ட்லேருந்து சித்தார்த் நம்மளோட இருக்காரு. அண்ட் சென்ட்ராயிலேருந்து ஸ்டில்கோe நம்மளோட இருக்காரு. How has been the Kochadaiiyaan experience so far, Siddhart?
What can I say about Kochadaiiyaan that hasn't been said already? And what is really important about Kochadaiiyaan from our perspective, however, is that it marks the beginning of a new kind of filmmaking. Kochadaiiyaan is really the first of its kind because, it makes us talk about technologies that haven't been in use in Indian movie making so far. So I think it's a landmark film in many ways.
I have seen some since working with Rajinikanth. I'm very excited about Kochadaiiyaan and I feel very privileged to have been involved in the production as well, and to have been one of the people that first brought motion capture to Rajinikanth's movie.
இனி உனக்கு எந்த வாய்ப்பும் அமையாது.
என் அன்பு மந்தா, வாய்ப்புகள் அமையாது, நாம் தான் அமைத்துக் கொள்ள வேண்டும்.
So Phil, what do you have to say about Soundarya? Like she's the debutante director, and her first movie is like a fully mocap movie. So what do you have to say about her? How was it working with her?
Working with her was fantastic. As I said earlier, I was a little concerned in the run-up to the shoot, because the organisational sort of mythology behind it was very different. But she was brilliant. I had one meeting with Sandy, and I was totally relaxed. She was so on her game, what she was doing, I mean, we really just became button-pushing technicians while she did her magic across the floor along with the actors.
So what do you have to say about the other actors except for Rajinikanth? There's a whole big star cast in Kochadaiiyaan.
Yeah, it was a massive cast, and I have to be honest, to begin with, I didn't realise the sort of gravity of stardom that we were working with. And a lot of that is due to how relaxed they were, dare I even say humble, working with us. I certainly didn't realise, how big they were, and they made the whole experience really fun. And they really enjoyed working with the technology and putting on the lycra suits. It's not a normal thing to wear, but as you'll see from some of the behind the scenes footage, everyone's laughing, and there was a lot of fun, a lot of enjoyment from the technicians, the performers, everyone that was involved in it.
So how was it working with the Indian actors, like on the sets out there? How different was it from other Hollywood movies that you've been involved with?
It was very different, to be honest. In the run-up to the shoots, I didn't really know what was going to happen. The sort of organisational side of it's very different. And then when you come to shooting, it was very, very fluent and went very quickly and was really laid back. Which for my first time it was quite unexpected.
And people say that doing a whole motion capture film like in India would be very difficult because of the budget constraints. So what would you have to say about that?
Well, I would have to say it's a common mistake to think that motion capture and performance capture is reserved just for the big budget movies. In fact, there's a lot of cost savings that can come out of using motion capture. Yeah, and part of the reason I'm sort of here is to promote the technology and to hopefully show, film companies that it's very accessible. You don't have to have just the big budget.
இந்த கோச்சடையான் தன் நாட்டையும் மக்களையும் காக்க பிறந்தவர்.
Motion capture or full performance capture is where you capture an actor's body movement, you capture their facial movement, and you capture the audio at the same time, and that's the full performance. Motion capture usually relates to just capturing body or just capturing face. Okay,
and Siddhart, like in India at least, we have like some movies which are like totally big budget and they have a lot of visual effects and animation involved in them. But then there are many movies like small budget films that don't really incorporate much. Like there are probably like one or two scenes which have VFX in it. So how really do you think small budget films or small films, like you say, can incorporate VFX and animation and so on?
Yeah, in fact, I should thank you for asking that question, because one of the things that we want to do at Pixelcraft is to do this myth busting, that these kinds of technologies are only about big movies and big star cast and so on. That's been the prevailing myth even in the West, and by now, of course, Phil will agree with me that pretty much a lot of movies have begun using these technologies. That's what we intend to do with Pixelcraft. As we speak, we're working on a couple of titles which we hope we'll be able to announce soon, which will show that these kinds of technologies, especially mocap, are pretty accessible even for let's say medium budget movies. And India has long been polarized, like you rightly said, between high budget, really small budget movies, which really forms the bulk. But the medium budget movies are the ones that really stand to benefit from mocap, because it expands the scope of storytelling. There's no way we're going to be able to make a crowd that's 100,000 people strong or have 10,000 horses and so on without resorting to technology, or without it sort of exploding or bloating into a high budget movie. So when you have these technologies at your disposal, I think it's going to sort of unleash more creative forms of storytelling.
There's another myth in Indian cinema saying that the only factor that stops them from making fully VFX movies is because of the time constraint also.
Right.
Because they say that it takes a lot longer time. So what do you have to say about that?
Right. So this VFX, this whole business of VFX, it's been relegated to VFX, and by VFX you really mean sort of post-production. So but we're really looking at a pipeline that's sort of digital, which is pre-production and post-production. So if you look at it in toto, I think the time and the cost that goes into it is fully justified. Okay. Also, let's look at the fact that this movie couldn't have been made. As in, can you make Ben-Hur today? No. Yeah, right. So that's what we're talking about. And when are we going to be able to make those stories in India? For example, 300, a movie like 300. Can you really make a story like 300 in India? Actually, Centroid has worked on 300 as well. Without resorting to a huge star cast. We're saying it can be done, and that's what we're trying to do with Pixelcraft and Centroid.
Okay. So how long does it take to make a fully mocap movie?
That's quite a hard question to answer. What I can say is it speeds up a lot of the production time for an animated movie, because it allows a director to work with the actors as they would on a live action set. And he can sort of, or she can grow the shoot organically, whereas if you're using sort of traditional animation techniques, the animation has to happen, and then the director will give his critique of the animation, then the animators will probably have to go back and make the adjustments, whereas the director will be working with human beings, performers. So the input is there, and it allows for accidental nuances and sort of embellishments to the performance that maybe if you were doing traditional animation, you might not have had that occur.
True. In Indian movies, we're used to seeing our stars like dressed up like big thing, and it's a larger life kind of experience for us. But looking at Rajinikanth sir in that kind of avatar, it's kind of new for us. So how exactly do you think such movies will work out with the Indian audience?
Yeah, it's really an interesting question. I think I'd like to talk about visual literacy a little bit. In India we have we resort to classifying movies in stereotypes. It's an animated movie, that's for kids. All right, so it's a stereotype. It's a Kamal Hassan movie, it's a Amitabh movie, it's a Rajinikanth movie. These stereotypes. So I think Kochadaiiyaan is commendable in that a star as huge as Rajinikanth is is setting the stage for a different way to look at himself, or for the audience to look at him, which is how it should be. So because these technologies permit portrayal of characters that is simply not possible otherwise. So this is the animated version of Rajinikanth. So that's my answer to how would we like him. Yeah, I think we would. You see, it also depends on the story. If the story is really good, I think we're going to love him in this avatar.
So Phil, so now that Centroid is associating with Pixelcraft for future ventures in India, what exactly is your vision about this whole collaboration?
It's very exciting vision, really. I want to be able to bring through Centroid what we've learnt about using the technology and how to work with the technology. But what's very exciting for me is the fusion of this technology and Indian filmmaking and stories. And hopefully I'm going to bring the benefit of the mistakes that we've made in the past working with technology, so that you'll be able to sort of pick up where we are now and run with them. So
you know that Indian movies are a lot about song and dance also. So when it came to Kochadaiiyaan, there are these amazing songs done by A.R. Rahman, and there would have been many song dance sequences also. So how was he shooting those?
Brilliant. I mean, motion capture is all about movement. So, you know, to actually have such accomplished dancers in the studio, and it was our first time capturing Indian dancers as well. And I mean, on a personal level, I didn't realise the amount of movement that becomes part of the dance. It's not just the body, but the face, the eyes, and to see everything working together, and to be able to record everything together in single takes was fantastic. I mean, the whole experience for me was a real eye-opener, which is part of the reason I'm here now.
So it was great talking to you guys. Thank you so much for talking to us, and it sounds really exciting, the kind of venture that you're coming up with, the collaboration. I just really hope that a lot more technologically sound movies come out in Tamil as well as in the whole Indian cinema. Thank you very much for talking to us.